Don't lose the race to get out of the dollar. Get out now. Get out ahead of most people, because most people are like a deer in the headlight. The US dollar is the risk. So the safe haven is gold. The safe haven is silver. Gold is going to be very expensive, right? Now it's almost 5,000 an ounce, 47.60. It'll be 10,000 an ounce. It'll be 20,000 an ounce, which means if gold's at $20,000, even a 10th ounce gold coin is $2,000. Right? That's a lot of purchasing power in a 10th ounce coin.
The global financial landscape is currently defined by a frantic race to the exit, where the US dollar is rapidly transforming from a sanctuary into a distressed liability. As gold approaches the $5,000 threshold, the market is signaling a fundamental regime change, warning that the window to convert depreciating paper into tangible assets is closing before the currency loses its utility entirely. PeterSchiff, chief economist at Euro-Pacific Capital, emphasizes that this is not merely a cycle, but a structural collapse of the fiat standard. He projects that gold is poised to aggressively reprice to $10,000 or even $20,000 per ounce. Schiff illustrates the magnitude of this shift by noting that at these levels, a tiny 1/10 ounce coin would carry $2,000 in purchasing power, effectively retaining the wealth that the dollar has lost and proving that the only true haven is the asset that is nobody's liability. Now, we present the clips from PeterSchiff's interview. Before we continue to discuss this, please subscribe to our channel and activate the bell icon for timely updates. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
Go buy gold, buy silver, and people keep saying, why are you telling people to buy the top? And that's because it won't be the top for long. Remember, I forget, I said it first earlier last year, but I said the longer you wait to buy the higher the high you're going to buy. And that's it. Yes, I'm telling people to buy the top because today's top won't be the top for long. There's not going to be big pullbacks. Yeah, there'll be some, but they're not going to be big enough to wait for. And you never know exactly when they're going to happen because there's so much money waiting to come in to gold and silver. That's what the precious metals mining stock investors still haven't come to terms with. How much higher gold and silver prices are going. They're still worried that we're going to have a big drop. That's why they're reluctant to bid up these prices, because they don't believe they're sustainable. The only thing that's not sustainable is how low they are. They are going to keep going up. This is going to begin the mass exodus out of U.S. Treasury, out of all U.S. dollar-denominated debt. This is it. The dollar's days are over as the reserve currency. The reign is coming to an end. Again, I didn't think that Greenland, might be the straw that breaks the camel's back, but that's what it was. And it's over. And this process is not going to stop. Again, you can't put that genie back in the bottle, right? Gold was telling you that. Silver was telling you that early. And I was saying that gold and silver were first, right? Talking about the 2008 crisis, gold and silver were like subprime, the most sensitive to the dollar losing its status. Reacted first. First gold, then silver, other precious metals. Now it's moving into the bond market and the foreign exchange market. And you're going to start to see some big moves down. Now, the Trump administration, they're desperate, right? They got Fannie and Freddie buying a couple of $100 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities. This is kind of like pushing against the tide. It's not going to stop. Rates are going to rise. Long-term rates are going up. Mortgage rates are going up. This whole house of cards is going to come collapsing down. Don't lose the race to get out of the dollar. Get out now. Get out ahead of most people, because most people are like a deer in the headlight. But you got to sell U.S. stocks. You got to sell U.S. bonds. You got to sell U.S. dollars. You got to be into foreign stock. You got to be into value. You got to be into dividends. You got to be into resources. You got to be into the emerging markets. You pretty much have to own the portfolios that I have been creating for people for years, because I knew this was coming. I knew it was coming a long time ago. And again, we ended up delaying the day of reckoning. We kicked the can down the road, but I knew that eventually our luck would run out. Our ability to do that would run out. And Donald Trump just accelerated the process. That should have happened, right? Anyway, now it's begun, finally. So the returns are going to be phenomenal, right? The returns on gold stocks already beat the S&P for the past 10 years. I mean, gold obviously kills it, gold and silver. But foreign stocks way outperformed the U.S. market last year. They're already way outperforming it this year. And the year just began. So you got to get into these portfolios. What is about to happen is exactly what I've designed my strategy to protect you from and to enable you to profit. Most people are going to get wiped out, right? We don't have to share in that fate. Unfortunately, I wish there was something I could do to help avert it, but I can't, right? I try to go on Fox News and tell the truth, and the president gets me kicked off, right? You're not allowed to criticize Trump on Fox News, right? So much for freedom of the press. But look, there's nothing I can do about this disaster, right? But I can save as many people as I can, right? We don't all have to go broke just because the country is going to go broke, right? A few Americans could manage to survive it financially, and they will if they follow my plan. I've got this economic survival plan that will not only protect your wealth, but allow you to increase your wealth as the dollar collapses and other assets rise in value. What's lost in America will be gained outside America, but you don't have to live outside America. You can own the assets that are gaining the value that U.S. assets are losing, right? That's what we're doing. So make sure and go to the Europac website, europac.com. Look at my 5 mutual funds. You can buy them all, no load, any discount broker. But better yet, just call up the phone number, schedule an appointment, talk to the representative, and transfer your retirement account over, your IRA over. Let us help you manage that. Let us help you build and manage your portfolio so that you can survive and thrive during very, very trying economic times that are going to be following the United States. And the timeline, I think, now is short, right? Everything is kind of happening, and I think the pace is going to quicken. Remember the old saying, how did you go broke? Well, slowly at first, then all at once. Well, I think we've gone through the slowly part. We're now at the all at once part. So you have to act quickly. You got to buy your physical gold and silver. If you don't already have gold and silver, shame on you, but buy it now. I know I've been saying it, but you could also buy more, right? You never have enough, right? So go to Schiff Gold. And again, everybody who follows me should open up a T-Gold account because we're going to need T-Gold one day. We're going to need an alternative monetary system because the dollar is going to collapse. People aren't going to want to deal in dollars. They're going to want to deal in alternative. And the best money is gold. And what makes gold even better is the internet. Tokenization is the ability to transact in gold without actually having to physically carry it around. That way you can transact in very small increments. Because remember, gold is going to be very expensive, right? Now it's almost 5,000 an ounce, 47.60. It'll be 10,000 an ounce. It'll be 20,000 an ounce, which means if gold's at $20,000, even a 10th ounce gold coin is $2,000, right? That's a lot of purchasing power in a 10th ounce coin, right? So the best way to spend it will be if you can have a token and have a third party that you trust store your gold so that you can transact in your gold without actually having to hold it. Now, you don't want to have all your gold with a third party, but the gold that you want to use in commerce as a medium of exchange, yes, makes it so much simpler, right? And so go and set up a T-Gold account.
The financial world is entering a critical phase in which the US dollar is transitioning from a global haven to a primary risk asset. While the majority of the public stands frozen like deer in the headlights, smart capital is executing a mass exodus into foreign equities and tangible resources. This shift signals that the collapse of the reserve currency status is unfolding, slowly at first, then all at once. A trajectory projected to drive gold prices toward $10,000 or even $20,000 per ounce. At these extreme valuations, the purchasing power of even a fractional coin becomes substantial, effectively preserving the wealth that fiat currency continues to destroy. To navigate a future where a single ounce of gold commands 5 figures, the market is evolving beyond simple physical barter. This digital bridge ensures that hard assets remain liquid and usable for daily commerce, bypassing the crumbling fiat system entirely. The ongoing race is not merely about profit, but financial survival. Those who fail to swap paper promises for tangible assets before the currency crisis accelerates risk being left with unbacked liabilities, while the prepared minority secures true sovereignty. Let's get back to the interview.
The big difference between the 2026 financial crisis, which is actually going to coincide with the 250th year anniversary of our country, right? But The 2026 financial crisis will be very different than the 2008 financial crisis. Not just because it's going to be a lot worse, but because it's not going to be a global financial crisis. It's going to be an American financial crisis. The rest of the world is actually going to benefit because the burden of supporting the U.S. consumer-based economy will be lifted from their back. So our loss is the rest of the world's gain. That's what the world's going to find out. See, they've been reluctant to do this because they didn't want to upset the apple cart. Well, wait till they find out, right, how much more beneficial it is for them, right? People, the rest of the world doesn't understand the heavy burden that has been placed upon it by the United States. In exchange for our military protection, we have exacted a heavy toll. Yes, the world hasn't spent money on their military. They spent it on ours. Right? They've loaned it to us. They've provided us with the goods that we don't produce so that we can produce weapons instead, right? So this whole arrangement is going to come to an end, and this is a U.S. economic crisis, a U.S. financial crisis that won't reverberate around the world. Yes, the world is going to take a loss on their treasuries, but their currencies are going to go up. You see, when we had the 2008 financial crisis, the dollar went way up. When the crisis started in the summer of 2008, the dollar index was at an all-time record low. It was around 70. Now it's just below 100. So the dollar is at a high point about to collapse. And as the dollar falls, that is going to be a big benefit for the rest of the world. And as money, after the 2008 financial crisis, money came fleeing to America, right? Everybody, came to America for safety. Now, everyone's going to be pulling their money out of America for safety because America is the epicenter of the problem. America is the danger spot. Treasuries are not a risk-free asset. They are the risk. The U.S. dollar is the risk. So the safe haven is gold. The safe haven is silver. The safe haven is not Bitcoin. And that should be painfully obvious. All these Bitcoiners are now they're just waiting, right? They're all waiting for Bitcoin to follow gold and silver. They think it's only a matter of time. The fact that it hasn't moved means it's not going to move. Bitcoin had its time to shine and it passed, right? It had a test and it failed. It is over for Bitcoin. I mean, is it possible that it could have another run? I say it's unlikely, highly unlikely, because it already would have. And the markets don't make it that easy, right? You have plenty of time to load up on Bitcoin if it's going to make a big move up. I think the markets don't give you that much time to do something that looks that obvious. The reason you have so much time to buy Bitcoin is because it's the wrong thing to do. All the people that have moved into Bitcoin because they expect it to follow gold and silver are going to be in for a world of hurt as the market implodes. But this crisis, this 2008 U.S. financial crisis, dollar sovereign debt crisis, and maybe we can hold off until 2027. I don't know. But this is January, right? It's already started. Gold is already up 10% on the year. We're not even finished with January. Silver is up 30%. 30%. Gold and silver are off to a stronger start this year than last year. And gold mining stocks are off to a much stronger start into 2026 than they were in 2025. So we've got a long way to go this year. We got the midterms. But again, the worst thing politically is the Republican Party owns this crisis. Whether they deserve to own the whole thing or not, and they don't because the Democrats share a lot of the blame, it's all going to go laid at the feet of the Republicans. And the Democrats are probably going to sweep the House and the Senate in the midterms. It could be the biggest loss for an incumbent party in history. And then we're probably going to get a fledged Democratic socialist for president. Now, right now we have a Republican socialist, and the problem is the Republican socialist claims that he believes in capitalism, which he doesn't, but the Democratic socialist will be able to use the problems that were created in part by the Republican socialists and say that capitalism doesn't work, and this is why we need socialism to solve the problem, even though socialism will be the source of the problem, and the Democrats will take it to an even higher level. And so they're going to rub salt in an already very deep wound.
The looming 2026 financial crisis, coinciding with the nation's 250th anniversary, is projected to be fundamentally different from the 2008 meltdown. Unlike the Great Recession, which reverberated globally and triggered a flight to the dollar for safety, this upcoming collapse is expected to be a distinctively American event. Capital is now forecast to flee from the epicenter of the risk, the United States, reversing the flows seen 2 decades ago. The rest of the world stands to paradoxically benefit as the heavy economic burden of subsidizing the U.S. consumer and military apparatus is finally lifted. As the dollar index crumbles from its highs, foreign currencies are poised to surge, effectively decoupling their economies from the sinking American ship. This structural shift is already evident in the haven competition. While gold and silver have posted aggressive early-year gains of 10% and 30%, respectively, Bitcoin has failed its critical test, remaining stagnant while tangible assets soar. This divergence suggests that the digital asset is not the successor to gold that many hoped for. The fallout extends beyond markets into the political arena. With the current administration likely to own the crash, the stage is set for a radical political swing. Analysts warn this will usher in a wave of policies that misdiagnose the failure of fiat economics as a failure of capitalism itself, exacerbating the domestic crisis while the global economy moves on. Share your thoughts on his analysis in the comment section below. If you find this video informative, please support us by turning on notifications to stay informed about our latest videos. See you in the following video. Thanks for watching.